In the Dictionary of Premillennial Theology, J. Randall Price writes, "The final world ruler who opposes God and his Christ, particularly in relation to his deity, suppresses God's elect, especially the Jewish people, and seeks to usurp the place of divine worship through the desecration of the holy, especially Jerusalem and its temple, is known as the Antichrist." In the last 100 years, dispensationalists have, by thousands, thrown their hats into the rings, trying to guess who or what Antichrist is, what country he will come from, how old he will be, and most importantly, when he will be revealed. In a stinging rebuke, Oxford scholar Dr. Os Guinness writes that dispensationalism reinforces anti-intellectualism by its general indifference to serious engagement with culture. Put simply, it is a form of the earlier false polarization and shrunken pietism reinforced by a distracting preoccupation with the end times. Usually, this unhealthy preoccupation centers on John's Antichrist. RaptureAlert.com author Michael Mickey, in an article titled Antichrist 666, opens his thesis with these words: "The one person in prophecy almost everyone seems to have an interest in is the coming Antichrist." Reformed scholar Dr. Kim Riddlebarger relates this story, which would be humorous if it weren't so sad. "One of my favorite possessions," he writes, "is a booklet passed on to me by my grandmother entitled The Time of Jacob's Trouble, published in 1939. Wherein the author attempts to demonstrate that the revived Germany under Hitler in the pre-World War II years is the supposed last day 10-nation confederacy predicted in Revelation 13. Of course, the author very deftly demonstrates how Mussolini is the false prophet, and how Italian imperialism in Ethiopia is proof that Rome is the great harlot of Revelation 18 and compatriot of the German beast. Later he writes, "I can still remember the fear instilled in me as a child when I heard one preacher declare that Antichrist was then living somewhere in the Middle East. Probably still a child playing stickball in some crowded, dusty street, awaiting the day he would be possessed by the devil and allowed to wreak havoc on the world after the rapture." Regrettably, most modern dispensational writers ignore the failed man-made predictions of the past, still holding out hope that Antichrist's day lays in the immediate future in their lifetime. During an interview with Eternity magazine in 1977, Hal Lindsey stated, "In my personal opinion, he," meaning Antichrist, "is alive somewhere now." Please note that as of 2009, 32 years have passed since Lindsey made this statement. My partner in crime at NiceneCouncil.com and the Apologetics Group, Dr. Ken Gentry, wrote this: "Lindsey was so convinced of his view that Mr. Antichrist roamed the planet that he wrote a book in the late 1970s called 1980s Countdown to Armageddon." Think about that. 1980s Countdown to Armageddon. I think it's Brother Jack brought one of his favorite books with him, 88 Reasons Why Jesus Will Return in 1988. I say that tongue-in-cheek for anybody watching at home. Dave Hunt, author of numerous books, one that was even titled Global Peace and the Rise of Antichrist, is convinced that somewhere at this very moment on planet Earth, the Antichrist is almost certainly alive. Salem Kerbin, does anybody remember that guy? What happened to him? Did he get raptured or something? Because he just like totally disappeared. Salem Kerbin wrote in 1977 that those of us familiar with Scripture, I like that, those of us familiar with Scripture can easily see the handwriting on the wall as the way is prepared for the coming of Antichrist.